Hello. You want me to say hi to everybody? Hello. This is Susie. Susie Sue. Named after Susie and the Banshee. Hello. Welcome to Rivendell. My name's Nathan. In the last video I posted, it was a supplemental video on Reaganomics and some of the economic and social context in the 1980s. I mentioned I wanted to spend a couple minutes talking about the culture of the 1980s. So in this video, I'm going to discuss religion and parenting that was prevalent in the 1980s. Now, a little disclaimer, I'm not attacking anybody who has religious beliefs. I don't have a problem with people who have religious beliefs. My issue is with two things: hypocrisy and behavior. So if religion is something that, if people have religions and that inspires them to treat others well and in a loving manner and care about society and the world, that I have no problem with that. If people use religion as justification for hate, I do have a problem with that.
I was raised in the Assembly of God Church and attended regularly until my parents got divorced when I was 6 years old. If you're unfamiliar with the Assembly of God Church, one of the things that makes them unique is that they speak in tongues, which is the idea that the Holy Spirit comes into you and speaks through you, and it's a sign that you're saved. So I never spoke in tongues because, you know, it would be considered blasphemy of the Holy Spirit if you're faking it, and that means you go to hell forever. So it's kind of a catch-22. Anyway, here's what speaking in tongues kind of looks like.
You can do it. Just start speaking the heavenly language. Your mind says don't do it, but don't listen to your mind. Listen to the Spirit. The Spirit of God is wanting to put a language on your lips. Let it come out. Condition is being healed right now by the power of the Lord. Everybody that has a heart condition, lay your hand across your heart as a point of contact and receive the healing in the damaged part of your heart.
So I was exposed to a lot of that kind of stuff in my early years.
And my grandpa had a Swedish accent, and his tongues was Swedish, and my grandma's tongues was more American English, like West Coast American English. So I was skeptical of this whole speaking in tongues things, you know, even at that young of an age.
So in the late 70s and early 80s, there was this kind of marriage between right-wing conservatism and religious congregations around the country. It was known as the moral majority for years. I was seeing a lot of hypocrisy, obviously.
My grandmother's siblings were like high up in the leadership in the Assembly of God's headquarters in Springfield, Missouri. And in '88, Jimmy Swaggart had this huge scandal.
Seen shows nearly every day and being broadcast on hundreds of channels around the world. When he talked, the people in his community listened. When he exposed fellow TV preacher Marvin Gorman for having extramarital affairs, Gorman wound up out of a job. Unfortunately for Swaggart, hell hath no fury like a minor television celebrity scorned, and Gorman had Swaggart followed and photographed during a rendezvous with a local prostitute. What followed was a saga of blackmail that saw Gorman reinstated and Swaggart taken off the air. In 1988, Swaggart gave the infamous speech in which he cried a lot and asked for forgiveness.
I have sinned against you, my Lord.
Then, 3 years later, Swaggart was caught with another prostitute. Despite all that, today he's back on TV and has a new 24-hour-a-day network.
You know, as a 13, 14-year-old boy, you know, I agreed more with the Dead Kennedys. They had a song called Moral Majority. Check it out.
What don't they use the majority? Cause some people in the real world, I know some folks on the side. I understand, you're on my side, I love you, come about the news. Anybody press on the silly cold, there's no take for anybody, I understand. You're on my side, so let's God know some of the money. Not your most than steal your money. Too dark, anyone the backside, I won't see, not none of them say a witch trial. Now you're close and never the time. Very much supposed to be alive. That's the way I'm gonna fight my Bible. I understand. You're on my side, blow it out your asses. I will blow it out your asses. Blow it out your asses. What's wrong with a mind of my own?
Jet was wearing a little thin at the seams, and he just knew his followers would help him, a humble servant of Jesus. He only needed a small tithing of millions and millions of dollars to buy a sweet new Falcon 7X passenger jet. According to Duplantis, God personally told him that he wanted him flying in that particular plane, presumably because the good Lord would never expect his followers to fly Southwest. In 1978, the Bakers opened Heritage USA, a Christian theme park with water slides, a 500-room hotel, and the staple of all amusement parks, tax exemption. Things were chugging along smoothly, so much so that the decision was made to build a luxury hotel tower. But skyscraper money doesn't just grow on trees, so 165,000 people each donated $1,000 to the building's construction in exchange for a lifelong annual 3-night stay. The Internal Revenue Service found this more than a little shady, leading to intense financial scrutiny of PTL Ministries. Furthermore, there was extra pressure on Baker because he and another preacher allegedly assaulted church secretary Jessica Hahn and then paid her $279,000 in hush money. In the end, PTL collapsed and Heritage USA closed. His message has been clear from the start. Poverty is the result of sin, and also please send money. His ministry became so popular that he attracted between 8,000 and 10,000 worshipers to his megachurch every week. And is
penetrating your heart, it's burning on the inside of you, and you need to make a vow of faith of $1,000.
Check out one of
To this day, I still find it pretty disgusting that these kind of folks would tell people that are in poverty that it's because they're sinning.
One of the elements of this was this kind of idea called Doctrine of Blessings. And this idea means that wealthy people, if you're wealthy, it means that it's a blessing from God and that you're a good Christian. Huge contradictions and hypocrisy between what I had heard in the Bible and the Bible stories I had heard as a kid and what I saw these religious right-wing folks and televangelists preaching. Actually, Jesus taught in the Bible. I mean, it's just... when I was a kid, sometimes you can't articulate those things, but kids smell bullshit, man. And I smell, it stank.
He was addressing these topics too. For example, Metallica's Leper Messiah. I was really getting into this band, The Accused. They had this album called More Fun Than an Open Casket Funeral, and they had a song on there called Judgment Day that spoke to this issue as well. So one last one that I remember about this topic was by a band called Christ on Parade, called Teach Your Children Well. An interesting note about Christ on Parade, they played the Community World Theater. I didn't go to the show, but a band opened for them named Youth in Outrage. But here's Teach Your Children Well.
Teach your children well.
Just joking. Here's Teach Your Children Well by Christ on Parade.
They keep your attention on things that don't matter. The right things to eat, you don't grow any fatter. The right things to wear, the right things to say. The friends that you have depends on how much you pay. And maybe someday if you're lucky enough and you buy all the synthetic crap, you can overlap the girl in the bag of the head or the guy with the girl on his lap.
You could speak volumes on this relationship between right-wing conservatism and religious folks. I just wanted to put it in the context of my story, so I'm not going to go heavy into that on this episode. If you're interested in that topic, there's a great book called The Family. And there's also a documentary on Netflix, a mini-series on Netflix about the same subject, which is pretty interesting if you're interested in that subject. But I mean, in the name, just to sum it up, in the name of, so this kind of extreme conservatism, through the lens of, religious justification, produce an attitude of righteousness in, political thought, political ideas.
This video is going a little longer than I thought, so I'm going to pick up the subject of parenting in a separate video. So thanks for watching. Peace out, people.